Welcome everyone to Dead Talk Live. I'm your host Viz, and today we will be chatting with the cast and crew of the upcoming science fiction horror film Lumina. Lumina is exclusively coming to theaters Friday, July 12th. Now, to start us off, we are joined by Sidney Nicole Rogers and Ken Lawson, two of the stars of the film. Sidney, Ken, thank you so much for joining us today. Congratulations on the film. How are you guys doing today?
Thank you so much. Incredible. Awesome.
Doing great. Doing great. Thank you.
How are you feeling with the premiere like 2 weeks away?
The Los Angeles premiere is this Friday.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So
Con-
I am extremely excited. I am ready to walk that red carpet. I finally got all my looks together. My mom's flying in. I know she's going to be just a big ball of tears. You know, she's been waiting so long for this moment. So we're all excited.
That's super.
Congratulations. I mean, this is so awesome. To get a theatrical release is just so big. So let's get right into the questions. I want to ask this to the both of you, but Lumina has a big storyline built into it. I want to hear from the both of you. What were your initial impressions when you first read the script? Let's start with Sydney. What did you think when you read all this story packed into one script?
I said, wow. I said, wow, Gino has written not just a sci-fi movie about aliens, but it's also a story about love as well. A love in a relationship between a boyfriend and a girlfriend, obviously, but a love between friends, because it takes a lot of love for friends to go into the unknown to try and attempt to save their other friend. I don't know too many people who would have friends who would do all of that for them. So it
Exactly.
shows heart behind the horror. It shows a lot of grit and romance and humor as well from Ken.
Now, Ken, your character is quirky, is all over the place. What did you think of the story and your character's place in that story?
As far as George is concerned, I really appreciated. It seems like the character Alex had to run to somebody that was on that level of where he was introduced to, and that's where I think George just brought it to his attention, like, hey, I'm your guy. I've been doing this for years, and I've told you about it, and that's why you don't hang with me no more.
Now,
So, like the fact that he's able to come to this character. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say there's a moment in the film between both your guys' character that you feel a connection where, especially with Sydney's character, she's like, "Oh, wait, there's more to you than just this exterior facade." Ken, what did you think about the writing and the deep development of George himself?
I enjoyed it. Just the fact that you're able to look at this character and say, hey, he's not just some crazy guy. He lives in the real world, and I think that George's approach to it is more of like, hey, let me take the veil from over your eyes so you can see what's really going on out here. This stuff is real, and so I think that those moments to try to get people to understand, hey, these things happen, and it's happening to someone that we love. So
Yeah.
let's try to, finish this story and help him get to where he needs to get to, because it's happening not just to around the world, but it's happening to us.
Exactly, on a much personal level. Now, Sydney, Patricia, your character is really in a rough spot. You are the friend of three people, and you are sort of trapped in the middle of this sort of love triangle, and you're trying to appease everyone. I mean, wow, talk about a rough position to be in. How difficult was that for you to pull off as an actor and get that to just come alive on the screen?
Patricia is definitely the glue of the friendship circle, right? And I identify with myself with that, because I feel like in some of my friend groups, I am the glue. I am the therapist of the friend group. I am the person who brings everyone together. So for me, in those moments of all the chaos going on, to rope everyone and bring everyone back together in a peaceful manner, I just had to tap into me in those moments. So yeah,
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 now I saw Patricia as the movie progressed really taking on that leadership role
yeah.
within the group, just like you described. Uh, did you really lean into that as an actor?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I did. And Gino definitely guided me in that, in trying to discover Patricia's arc, being very carefree, free-spirited, and then, okay, this is serious now. This is not just a theory. Yeah, we're gonna go find Patricia. This is serious now. And with so many emotions just big, right? Someone has to be logical here. Um,
Hmm.
there's definitely moments where Patricia is emotional herself, but even in her emotion, she knows exactly what's at hand. She knows her duty. She knows, like, we have to survive this, so we need to get through it, through tears, through snot, through crying, through screaming. However, we need to get through it. We need to get through it now.
Exactly, exactly. Now, Ken, as George goes, as the story moves along, what I really loved about George is that instead of him spiraling into his conspiracy theory rabbit hole, he becomes a lot more pragmatic in analyzing the situation and realizes, hey, this is going on in real life. This is what we need to do to not only find our friend, but to survive. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, just definitely. I felt that George, the character, as he was able to bring some of his, resources into this film, into this scenario to help his friends say, hey, I've been doing this for so many years. I'm glad I'm able to provide any type of help and information, especially when we go by and we meet Eric Roberts in the film, bringing those two worlds together. It's like no one ever really thought that this would happen, but now they meet this guy and the story starts to progress and hey, we start to turn these people into believers. Like, hey, I told you guys, I'm not crazy.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Now, Cindy, when you guys are filming, I mean, there's always a difference when you sit down and see the final product with all the CGI effects added and whatnot. It's different being on set. You don't see all that. So when you sat down and you saw the finished product with all the special effects added and so on, what were your impressions?
I realized that while filming, the head of the CGI, he was there, the CGI department, and then the special effects, and then Gino. I realized while watching the movie that the three of them described extremely well what I was going to see on screen. Because
Okay.
a lot of things, when there's wine coming out of the wine glass, when there's, Tatiana going up into the sky, we don't know what that looks like. And
Yeah.
I'm such a visual learner that I asked a lot of questions. I said, what am I touching right here? What does this look like? What does it feel like? What is it slimy? And they described it so well because Gino had such a clear, concise vision that he was able to articulate to everyone. I'm so thankful because when I saw it on screen, I said, oh, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Awesome. That is so, I mean, as an actor, and letting our audience in on it, when you don't have something right there to work off of, it is extremely difficult. And Ken, it sounds like Gino was very spot on in explaining what it is that's going to be on that screen in the final product. When it comes to your interactions with him, what were your impressions on how he worked with you, explained things with you, and so on?
Yeah, Gino did a great job. He as an actor on going to certain scenes and sets we were doing, we were totally kept away from a lot of the sets. So everything was, kind of kept us in suspense all the way down till we got down to the bunkers. We didn't see anything. I didn't know what the aliens looked like. I didn't know what the spaceship, I mean, as far as the space uniform, the gear, spacesuits, didn't know what any of these things looked like. Every
Hmm.
day we were getting introduced into something new. So when Gino was able to keep those things under wraps, he did a great job because I was asking a lot of questions. It's myself like, man, how are you gonna do this, man? You know, I want to see this. I said, man, can you just hold on? I got you. Because Gino, he like I said, he's a visionary, and you can
Yeah,
tell when it comes down to the CGI. You know, some of the things that, like you said, you can only see these things in the aftermath. When you're performing these things, you don't know what's going on. You know, they have us tied up to ropes and all of these different things that are going on, and he's like, man, I can't wait to see the finished product. You know,
I
there are
agree.
certain scenes I don't want to give too much away, but there's just like certain scenes that are going on where I'm like, I cannot wait to see how he does this.
Yeah, yeah.
I went through a lot to make this happen. I can't wait to see what happens in the final product. So I'm excited.
You must have been very proud when you did see the final product. Now, Sydney, I want to end it with you. Okay. This, like I said, this story has so many elements. It has a romance, but I think at the core is the whole uh alien abduction theme. Okay. It is about aliens, it is about abductees and what happens to abductees, not only in the science fiction realm, but in real life. There are real people, millions of them, who claim to be abducted every year. And I was blown away by some of the statistics that Gino threw up on the screen just before the final credits roll. Do you feel the same? Do you feel like the core of this movie is about getting the stories of people who have been abducted by aliens out there and giving them a voice?
I definitely believe that that was Gino's breaking off point in
Hmm.
creating Lumina. Hearing all these stories, going and doing his own Alex deep dive into it all, right? And then boom, Lumina was made, it was
Hmm.
formed, and then bringing us into this world as well. Because before, I thought potentially there are aliens, but it wasn't until I was in this movie where I did my own deep dive and I said, whoa, this is
Yeah.
bigger than anything that I ever thought
Hmm.
possible. So, yes, bringing that awareness, bringing this film to everybody, then bringing us on as actors and even the crew as well into this world and bringing awareness to us on a personal level. So, absolutely, this film, it has heart, it has horror, but it also is informative.
And it definitely has some comedy as well, thanks to Ken.
Yeah. Thank you, Ken.
You guys did a great job. Thank you, Sidney, Ken, for joining us today. You guys were great in the film. It's a fun roller coaster ride from start to finish. Please check it out. Welcome back, everyone. We are now joined by Lumina's writer director, Gino McKoy, and star Eleanor Williams. Gino, Eleanor, thank you for joining us and congratulations on the film. I just got done speaking with Sidney and Ken. So I'm looking forward to talking with you guys. Again, congrats. How you guys feeling with the premiere coming up Friday in LA? How's it feeling for you guys?
Feels great. Thank you so much. We're excited. We
I bet.
come a
I
long
bet.
way. Come a long way from COVID to shoot this movie, and now it's coming out, man. Like we're
The
blessed.
day's here. The day's here. So, Gino, let me get started with you. Lumina has a lot of story packed into that script. First of all, what was the inspiration for telling this alien abduction story in the way that you did, blending it with a love story and a love triangle?
Oh wow. I think I wanted to see the impact that abduction would have on certain people if their loved one was abducted by aliens. And I think that really drove my creative writing side to write a story to see the psychological effect that would have on a group of friends and how far they will go and how far you will go if you want to save the one you love. And I think that really piqued my interest in terms of writing something that would affect someone psychologically and seeing the reaction of people to that.
And yeah, absolutely. Now, Eleanor, you play the main love interest of Jeff, I believe is the character's name, if I'm not mistaken. But there is some, what can I say? You're insecure in the relationship that he still may have feelings for a woman. As the film progresses with your character, how do you see that changing in Tatiana, which is the character you play?
Yeah, well, I think at the beginning of the movie, their relationship hasn't necessarily been tested. I think she does have insecurities. I mean, you've watched the film, you've seen Andrea in real life, you know how beautiful that woman is. So anyone would be insecure with that woman in the vicinity of their man. Um, and I think she plays it so well, and she is just she toes that line between kind of being the villain, I guess, of the first act, but equally just being kind of lovable. And I totally see the audience being like, maybe we want her to succeed because she is just so good at it, and it's so opposite to how she is in real life. Gino, I know you can agree with me there.
Yeah,
Now,
I think Andrea is like she straddles between that devil and angel on the
mhm,
shoulder, you know.
yeah, yeah,
She's definitely infectious, and she has that type of energy when she comes into it, that, like, her objectives are very, like, made aware of by everyone. Everyone's aware of her objectives and like what she wants to
exactly,
achieve.
exactly.
Yeah.
Now, Eleanor, Tatiana, we find out sort of a big reveal that we're not going to spoil here, but as we see her in the beginning, do you think that she believes that she can escape her past?
I think she's trying to. I think it's something that really plagues her, actually. You can kind of see, I think, I definitely felt it with Gino's writing. There's something there that's torturing her, that she doesn't feel comfortable speaking to Alex about. Um,
Yeah,
and I think, to kind of touch back on your previous question as well, I think, she does have those insecurities at the beginning in herself and in the relationship, but towards the end, because of the length that this man has gone to for the one that he loves, then there's no doubt in her mind,
exactly.
I think.
Exactly. I mean, by the time I got to the end, I'm like, all right, if there was any doubt in Tatiana's mind, it should be completely gone by now. Now, Gino, the character of Delilah, is such a mysterious character that the audience, I mean, I I find liking her, then I was a second later not liking her. Yeah, yeah, we were always on the fence on which way this character was going to go. Is that how you wanted her on the screen? Is that how you really wanted Delilah to be, sort of like this big question mark for the audience, and what are her true intentions here?
Yeah, I felt like Andrea did exactly like how I envisioned the role to be, um, mysterious, to be, the catalyst
Hmm.
in a certain sense of the story arc. And I think she goes in there and she like gets in between, and she's in the weeds, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
she's in the trenches, and she's there, and she presents herself in so many different ways, and it's kind of like you like that emotional roller coaster because it's like true to life, like, you get that in real life experiences where you have people that are like, you love them, you hate them on them, and that's what
yeah.
I really wanted out of it. And I felt it was a lot more intriguing to the audience to have somebody that's dynamic in that sense.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Now, Andrea, by the time we get to the third act, sorry, not Andrea, Eleanor, by the time we get to the third act, you guys are really in like this different environment, okay? You are like really getting down and dirty, for lack of a better term. When they came with working with Gino, and you guys are like in the desert and working in this what seems to be these really hostile areas. As an actor, how difficult was that for you, and what kind of role did Gino play in sort of setting the tone for what will be there when the final product is released, when the effects are added, and really helping you get in touch with what your surroundings are going to be?
I think there's a fire alarm going off where I am, so I'm going to talk through it and we'll see if you can hear that.
No, I
But
can't hear it.
okay, good. But I think yeah, Gino was very helpful in kind of like leading us through. He kept certain things about the set and what was going to happen a secret from us. It stopped now. Very good. Oh my God, that stressed me out so much.
We were about to tell you evacuate.
Yeah, I know. It's like another abduction is going to happen in a second. But yeah, we were just totally blessed with the setting of the movie. I think that Morocco is actually kind of like another character, another part of the ensemble, because it just lent so much to the story that Gino's created. And we so enjoyed kind of being there and working together. And I think something we actually haven't touched on in these interviews so far is that, you know, not only were we there during COVID, but we were there during Christmas. You know, we spent Christmas Day together, Gino.
Wow.
Oh
And
yes,
so
we did.
yeah, and so immediately
We had turkey.
we did turkey and a tagine, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just meant that, you know, there was such a feeling of teamwork, and we went on this journey together.
Now, Gino, I just spoke with Sidney, who plays Patricia, and I asked her, Patricia is placed in such a bad situation. She has three friends who are sort of in like this unknown love triangle to them at the time, and she's in the
Mhm.
middle of it, knowing sort of everyone's secret. What was your intention with the character of Patricia, and why did you have to place her in that rough spot between three of her friends in relation to how it plays out into the story and its overall plot?
I think Patricia's a very strong character. She's going
She
through her
is.
own personal conflicts. Um, she navigated that well, in terms of her character, and she has a very bubbly personality.
Yes.
She has a
Yeah.
very lively personality, and she has a very infectious character in the movie, and you know she plays an important role because she's a go-between. She's like the voice of reason
Yeah.
in certain instances where she's like, well, we shouldn't be doing this. Like, she really has her instincts and her intuition, and she's very intuitive. The character's very intuitive. She's a dreamer, and like she thinks a lot and everything else. And that I feel we needed that type of presence there because there's so many things going on. It's complex. The
Hmm.
relationships there are complex, and I think that she brings some sanity to the madness.
Exactly. She is the sane one out of the group, without a doubt. And then it would be probably Tatiana.
Yeah,
Now,
Tatiana is the other one, but then Tatiana also has a lot of mystery.
exactly, exactly. That she's
Yeah,
repressing. That
she doesn't feel that sane.
now, now, Andrea, in your opinion, Delilah, sorry, again, Eleanor, when it comes to Delilah, is so driven to getting Alex that she has absolutely no regard. At least it comes across that way, that she has absolutely no regard as to who she hurts in the process. Do you think that is something your character, Tatiana, is aware of, or is she completely bamboozled and under the spell and fooled by her charms?
Yeah, I think she is to a certain extent, because there are moments even there, and it's not necessarily like flirting, I suppose, but she is still quite pleasant with Tatiana. I think she's kind of playing both of them to get what she wants. And I think, you know, these are mature women in this script, and in an ideal world they get on and there's no conflict between them because it's all about the man, and two women shouldn't be fighting over a man and that sort of thing. So I think that, you know, in Tatiana's heart, that's what she'd like to believe. She feels the tension, but Delilah's such a charming character that I think it's impossible to ignore the effect that she has on everyone.
Yes, yes, yes. With
It
her,
also doesn't help that both of them are British, so they have.
that actually
That
leads
extra
me.
British charm.
That actually
So both of
leads
them
me.
have that, like, yes, a beautiful way of twisting the knife in the back, while saying
Yeah.
elegantly, an
Now,
elegant way.
Gina, that actually leads me to my next question. Why did you choose LA as sort of the starting center point for this story, as opposed to somewhere in the UK and in the United Kingdom? Why did it have to be
LA is
LA?
home for me. LA is home.
Okay.
I grew up in Toronto, but I moved to LA like 14 years ago, and it's like, my home as well. And um, also a lot of my experiences in the film industry, a lot of my experiences with people with MUFON and the alien abduction groups and everything else has been in Los Angeles and California. It's a very big presence there. Um, that's why I chose LA. I wanted
Okay.
to, and LA is a transplant hub. There's
Yeah.
transplants from everywhere that go to LA, from the UK, Canada, everywhere, all parts of
Everywhere.
the United States. And it's really a melting pot. It's such diversity in terms of like, so many different people from so many parts of the world coming there to do movies and coming there to make and coming there to achieve their dreams. And that's the reason why I started with LA. I think it was a perfect location.
Now, here's what I think is a sort of a tough question. Okay, the three female leads, very powerful actors, very powerful characters. When it came to, you picked Eleanor for Tatiana, okay? You picked Andrea for Delilah. When it came to casting these characters, what made you go with Eleanor for Tatiana, with Sidney for Patricia, and so on? What did you see in each and every one of them that said, you know what, they're the right one for this role?
Good question.
Thank you.
Eleanor has a certain grace to it that I saw with some of her other roles. And she, her acting style is withheld, if you understand what I'm saying. She conveys her emotions through um her facial expressions in other ways
Yeah.
without having to say it. And I saw some of that in her previous reels and everything else when I was casting her. And I said, I think that she's going to bring that type of grace to the scene. So that's why I chose her for that part. Andrea has a certain fire to her too, right?
Oh yeah.
And I thought she would be perfect for Delilah, as someone who could be manipulative, but still come across as, oh, you may love me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a love-hate relationship with Andrea, and I thought that I would get that from her, and I saw that in the reels and when I spoke to her and everything else for the actual audition. Patricia has a certain whereabout as a common influence,
And
but
the
she could be
audience
funny.
feels very empathetic to her.
Yes, and she could also go from serious to funny
Yeah.
at the same time. And and she's playful and she's childish in the role. There's a certain child in her there, the role with innocence, and she brings those different attributes to her character. And I thought that would be really good for the character of Patricia because she's a go-between. She's in between everything. And the person that has to be in between everything, in between this big catalyst of problems and chaos, there has to be a common influence. And she tries to be motherly in the actual role itself,
Hmm.
in terms of giving guidance, in terms of giving advice and everything else. And she has strong opinions, and I believe she was perfect for that.
Yeah. I agree. I think you casted each and every one of them perfectly for the characters that were meant to play. Now, Eleanor, now that the film is done, when you got to see the final product, and what were your feelings? Were you like, wow, because when you're filming it, it's different than when you actually sit down in a theater and you see the movie. What were your thoughts when you saw the film? I assume you have seen the final film.
I
And
have, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
well, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, it did feel wow. It's really difficult, I think, to be objective when you've gone on such a journey with it, because I'm not watching it as an audience member necessarily. I'm watching it and thinking, oh my God, it was so cold that night, or oh my God, I just had the best late night snack. I remember that scene, it's so you have all these memories attached to it. But I think for me, and it made me just so emotional to see the work of my colleagues because I was there. I just saw everyone working so hard. I saw things happen. I wasn't in as much of the ensemble moments as the rest of the cast, but Gino allowed me to come on set and be with him in Video Village and see those moments and the hard work that would go into them. So I was actually just kind of squealing with delight the whole time about, you know, watching my beautiful fellow cast members and the hard work of Gino and all his other creative departments come to life. So it was just like my face ached afterwards because I was just like the whole time.
That is amazing. I want to thank you guys again, Gino, writer, director, the cast. Thank you guys for coming on here and sharing just a little bit of this film. Again, the film is called Lumina. It's coming out to theaters Friday, July 12th. So that's like 2 weeks, almost 2 weeks from now. It's an edge of your seat science fiction horror film that will really keep you guessing throughout. And it is a roller coaster ride. It will take you to places that you didn't think. Gino, before we go, before the final credits come up, you put this blurb up there about alien abductees. Why was that important for you?
After the interviews I've had with people who are former Marines and in the U.S. military and other branches, and some of the ridicule and pushback that they got, and these are really good people, sane people, and their experiences, real experiences that they've had. I felt it was necessary to share that with everyone, saying that, you know, if it can happen to me, it can happen to you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
It can happen to anyone, and this is real. Aliens are real. Um, People on other planets are real. Like, you know, life does exist outside of our planet,
hmm
and people have had those type of real experiences, and they're sane, and they're believable, and they're true. And I felt the need for the audience to see that. This is important.
I was impressed by that. I was impressed that you put that up there before the credits. So kudos to you on that. Again,
Thank you,
thank you
brother. I appreciate it.
guys.
Thank you so
Thank
much. It was a pleasure, man. Absolute
Yeah,
pleasure. Thank you so
pleasure
much.
was all mine. Thank you again. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
For all our viewers, stay safe, stay walking. Bye, everybody.